Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Always Patriot, the John Jay Soccer Podcast. I'm Brendan Horton, joined as always by Coach Robert Seipp. How's it going, Coach?
Doing very well. How you doing?
Doing well. We're here on recording on Saturday night after getting home from the Marist Quinnipiac MAC conference match, and it was just awesome. Me and you, we love seeing that stuff. We love going to those games and the environment and the quality of play. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is a lot of fun. I think you and I even enjoy watching the warm-ups, more than anything else. But yeah, that was it was fun to see that level of play. That kid, what's his name?
Kyle Evans.
My God, he is so good for Marist, right? I mean, what a great player he is. Yeah, it's just love seeing a high level of play. And like I said, love really watching the guys warm up, what they're doing in warm ups, what they're focusing on. And then once the game starts, man, I mean, that level of intensity is just, it's a high level of intensity, guys flying all over the field, right? I mean, you had said it to me when we're sitting there watching. I mean, guys are just flying up and down the field. I mean, they are on a 100% sprint. It seems like every single time, so there's very little jogging out there. Players are just flying down the field, or the ball's out of bounds, and they're just walking and waiting for the ball to be restarted.
Yeah. Anytime anybody's going anywhere, it's on a sprint, whether they're running to a ball or they're running to defend. It's unbelievable just how fast they're moving, and just the stark comparison to what we see, and guys who want to play Division I soccer. You have to be able to cover ground and do so at a high rate of play, right? We had Zach Rabati on here a month ago talking about winning the fitness test there, and that being a huge thing that they had to do with their beep test. And I believe it, because the way that they fly up and down the field, the way that they pressure the ball, the way that they get to certain spots is just eye-opening. It's something to behold.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the live stats right now. So you and I were there for warm-ups, right? And then we watched the first half, and we left after halftime. It was 2-2, right? We clearly thought Marist was the better team, but 2-2. And what did I say to you in the car, Coach? What did I say?
You said 5-2 final score Marist.
Yeah, there's 3 minutes left in the match according to this site on the Marist website, and it is 5-2 Marist. So there you go. There you go.
Good. They deserved it because they played great. They really were the better side. And unfortunately, sometimes in soccer that doesn't matter, right? We watched that game last November when they played Siena, and I thought that they had the better of the play that evening, and I think they lost 5-2.
Yeah.
But, they were clearly, the much more impressive side. So, it happens with a game like soccer with such limited scoring, but they were all over Quinnipiac. And like you said, Kyle Evans, as kind of like their maestro with the ball, was just awesome. He is relentless defensively. He's creative and able to handle pressure from much bigger, stronger players. He was really, really impressive. And he was really impressive when I saw him play as like a 16-year-old. When I was coaching with the Hammers, he would come to some of the training sessions. He was still in high school, and he looked like he belonged there with the men. He was just, he was an awesome player then, and he's continued to develop. He's great, man. It's great having him so close so we can watch him play.
Yeah. And his older brother now is playing at Marist too, right?
Yeah.
He plays center back for him. Yeah. So I mean, it's Vigiano's got a good squad there up at Marist.
He does. They're undefeated at this point, right? I want to say they were 4-0-1 coming into the match, so they'll be 5-0-1, in conference play, which is great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I was looking at their schedule when I got home before we started recording, and they don't have any weekend home matches until later in October. It's like October 24th and then November 1st, I think, are the next opportunities that we'd have. That's not like a Wednesday night to go see them, but I would love to get out and see them play again.
Yeah, me too.
Whenever we're able to.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff. Good soccer for sure. So let's talk about our week. We had a pretty good week too, right? I mean, I guess.
2 tough games.
1-1. Yeah. Yep. 1-1, lost one. Played our first home game of the season against White Plains, right there. White Plains got a good squad, man. That number 10 on White Plains, very good player.
Yeah, he's really good. Very talented, very dangerous, very quick and smooth with the ball. Yeah, he's good. And in fact, their whole midfield is good. They are good at moving the ball and creating space and getting into space and creating chances. So yeah, I was impressed by White Plains. They're a good team.
Yeah, and we felt, I think, after that game that we just really couldn't keep possession of the ball, right? And I was just frustrated that we weren't able to string passes together and keep possession. But when we looked at the stats after the game, it told a bit of a different story. So I don't know if we were being too tough on our guys, but I'm looking at the stats now. We had 51% possession. They had 49%. We had 145 passes completed. They had 133. So now we've averaged, we've talked about this with our team, about 157 completed passes per game. We'd like to be over 200, to be honest. But, those are just some recent averages that we have. So we were under that 157 completed passes average. But at 145 and White Plains at 133, that really surprised me. I think it surprised you too.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that coaching during the game. It really felt for a good chunk of the game like we were being outplayed considerably, and really couldn't get things going offensively. Like we were being outplayed in the midfield. We were, kind of on our heels defending an awful lot. So yeah, it's shocking, really surprising to see that that's what that said, because it felt like, we won the game 2-0, but it felt like we kind of snuck away with the game that we had been outplayed in. And I haven't watched the film back or anything like that, but it is encouraging at least to see that the numbers didn't bear that out quite as sharply as you and I thought after the game. Because after the game, the conversation with the kids is, hey, we are 4-0, but we could easily be 0-4. We're not playing a great soccer right now, and we've got to kind of straighten some things out to play better soccer before this comes back to bite us. But I guess, if I get some time, we'll watch some of the film back, but maybe it wasn't so bad, as bad as we thought.
Right. And I think we always say to the kids, that we just have high standards for them, and we know, what good soccer players we have. So it's not that, we think that they're bad soccer players. They're just not playing to their potential, right? So sometimes when we say to the guys, oh, you guys are playing bad, sometimes we worry that the kids take that the wrong way. And we always tell the kids it's a compliment. When we tell you, you're not playing well, it's a compliment, because we think that you could play much better than you're playing. So, but I don't know. Maybe we were wrong, because, like I said, you said we won the game 2-0. Sean Vibrock scored a goal with about 10 minutes to go, I think, right? And then Yuri banged one home for us to get us that second goal and get us a little bit of breathing room there. But that game could have gone either way. With 70 minutes in, 10 minutes left in the game, that game could have gone either way. And we had moved Sean up a little bit. Sean plays in the midfield for us. We moved him up, and Chris Mollicone was able to send the ball through to him. And Sean beat the goalkeeper to the ball, right? If you remember that the White Plains goalkeeper came way out, sort of ill-advised. He probably should have stayed on his line, but Sean beat him to the ball and rolled it in, and that was a big goal for us to get. And then, Yuri, was at a set piece that the ball was sort of bouncing around a little bit. And I think Sean was very instrumental in that play as well. If I remember, he had the ball and sort of got pinned with his back to goal. He laid it back to Logan, who hit it first time, and Uriel cleaned up the rebound and stuck it in the back of the net. So yeah, to get out of there with a 2-0 victory, we were happy, but just weren't satisfied with how we were playing. And I think we really focused in on practice the next couple of days. I thought we had some good practices the next couple of days, and just encouraging the kids to play quicker and to, get their head up and to play with some confidence and believe in themselves and believe that, that they could string passes together and, that they could play quickly and that they could create passing lanes so that they could receive the ball and so that they know what they're going to do with that ball before they have their first touch. It was interesting too, because in some of those practices that the play really wasn't that good, but you could tell that our guys were really forcing themselves to try to play quicker. I guess actually we were, because a lot of it was restricted to just one touch. And when you just restrict players to one touch, it sometimes becomes a mess. But the idea is, you got to know what you're going to do with the ball before you receive it. So you've got one touch. You can't just take a touch and then think about it and then, oh, I'm going to pass it to my right. So then take a second prep touch and, adjust your body and then play that ball way too late at that point, with the speed of play that these high school varsity games are played at. And then again, to go and watch a Division I game like we did tonight, you think we play fast? You think, speed of play is fast at our level. Holy cow! I mean, on
Yeah.
that Marist field, I mean, like you said, you put it best. I mean, those guys are just flying. They are sprinting every opportunity that they get, and they can fly up and down the field.
Yeah, all those Marist players had those the Stat Sports GPS trackers. I would love to see the data on their sprints and the number of explosive movements that they had and stuff like that, because it just is, it felt like it was nonstop. The level of fitness needed is just so huge, and it only reinforces the fact that we've recommitted to a lot of that on our team as well. We had talked previously about we scored late in that second half to beat White Plains. We scored twice in the second half against Scarsdale. We scored twice in the second half against Portchester, all kind of 50th, 60th minute or later. In previous seasons, those were time periods when we were giving games away because our guys were getting tired and they started cramping and having to come off for hamstrings and things like that. And we've definitely taken strides forward in our overall fitness, but we got to be able to sprint like that the way that those guys do. And I know that they're Division I college athletes, but a lot of our guys seem to think they are. So hopefully that was the takeaway from tonight for them, is seeing the speed of play and the level of speed and fitness necessary to compete at that level, and the size. I know some of the guys were commenting just how large some of the players were, and I think that's so important for them to see that, Liam Evans, who's playing center back for Marist, is listed at
Yeah.
6'2", 195. So
He looks bigger than that to me, to be
yeah,
honest with you. I
yeah,
would have guessed
you
more
know,
like 640, 205,
Yeah,
215, something like that. Yeah.
but there's three other players on Marist standing shoulder to shoulder with him, eye
Yeah.
level with him,
Yeah.
and that's just what it is, right? A Division I athlete you may have all the talent on the ball in the world, and a lot of our guys do, but if you don't have the speed, the fitness, the size, the strength, the physicality, it's just it's not in the cards. Because some of these guys do. They have every bit of talent that you have on the ball, and then they have all these other things as well. And like you had said previously, we have really, really good players. We have, real good players in our program and on our team. I think we have a lot of talented players that we need to kind of continue to push to be good, because what they're producing on the field is not always good, they're high school athletes, so that's going to be the case. But, our guys, they want to view themselves as guys who are bound to play at the college level or at any level. And I think just we got to continue to push them in that direction and keep our standards high so that is kind of the expectation to prepare them for that.
Yeah, and it was nice to see a bunch of our guys at that game tonight, right? At the Marist game. I think we had maybe 10 guys there.
Yeah, a dozen or so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was good for them to make that trip. I mean, Marist is not exactly right around the corner for us, so it was nice that they made that trip up there. And like you say, got to experience and got to see, some of the stuff that we had been talking to them about, what these guys are doing in warm-ups and how quickly they're playing. And just the speed of play, at that level. I mean, it is impressive. And like we said, Marist has a really good team this year. Really impressed with their squad. So good stuff. Good stuff, definitely, to see that level and to try, like you say, to push our guys to continue to get better and not be satisfied with, after that White Plains victory, we were 4-0. And we really came to practice the next couple of practice, and that the kids really did work hard. And you're absolutely right with fitness. You bring up a great point. I mean, we had, as coaches, had recommitted to that, but all the credit goes to our players. I mean, they just continue to work, no matter how many times we run them, no matter how many times we ask them to do one more sprint or one more lap or one more repetition of whatever we're doing. They're all in there, and they're working hard. So that's definitely paying off for us, but there are some things, that we've got to tweak and that we've got to get better at. Case in point, today this morning we were at North Rockland, right? And we were doing a pretty good job defensively, I thought, in those first 4 games. But today, North Rockland was really able to swing the ball side to side on us. And for whatever reason, we weren't able with our guys in the middle to sort of lock it on one side today. Credit to North Rockland, very good team that they wound up beating us 1-0. But, you and I really weren't happy with, them changing the ball from one side to the other. And then on the other end of the stick, we weren't able to do that, right? It seemed like, we weren't able to play through the middle and change to the opposite side of the field where typically the space is. So those are, I think on the, agenda for for practice this week is to see if, you know, defensively we could just lock teams on one side and not allow them to change. Because when they change, first of all, there's space on that opposite side. And secondly, it's just so much running for us to do. And we're fit and we can do it. And coach, you bring up a great point. I don't remember any of our players really cramping so far yet this season.
Yeah.
Last year, it seemed like it happened constantly. You know, the
Yep.
referee was blowing his whistle and, you know, calling us out in the field because guys were cramping. It hasn't happened yet this year. And our guys are working hard. Our guys are fit. But just letting the opposing team change from one side to the other and then change it back is just a lot of, you know, wasted steps on our legs. It would be much better served if we had the ball, you know, and if we were sprinting, you know, into that space as opposed to, you know, trying to get over to the other side of the field to play some defense.
Yeah, it was frustrating how many times we just allowed North Rockland to switch the field and get the ball out of what could have been a tough spot where we had numbers and we had been doing such a good job at squeezing the field and forcing turnovers, and we just didn't today. And I don't know if it's, you know, some guys not knowing what to do or you know, what was different today. It's strange because we talk about those issues, but in spite of those things, I think this was the best game we played all season. In
Yeah.
terms of the quality of our play. And it's similar to what we were saying about Marist, where last year, you know, they dominated play and lost 5-2 to Siena. Not that we dominated play or anything like that, but it was the best game that we've played and we lost, you know, and we had previously played 4 games that were like, and we won all 4 of them. And that's just kind of the nature of the game, because this game, we could have scored some goals. We could have given up a bunch more goals. I mean, both Nick Nasso and Tyke Johnson made some fantastic saves to bail us out early and late. Same thing at White Plains. They both made fantastic saves. We've been, as we predicted, really solid in the net with our trio of goalkeepers, but we do need to figure that out. We need to figure out how we can change the point of attack faster and not so predictably, and then how we can stop teams from doing that, because I think our guys exerted so much energy sliding across the field and then sliding back across the field and just couldn't kind of figure it out. And then I'm sure that takes away from your attack, right? If
Yeah.
you're doing all that running and when you get the ball, your legs are that much heavier or you've got that many fewer sprints left in your legs. So, you know, we've got a bunch of practices coming up before we play this Friday. So it'll be a good thing to do with the next 4 days, try and work on those things while continuing to try and play faster and play to feet and things like that, and kind of carve out exactly what our identity looks like. Because I thought we had done a good job at squeezing it. We had worked all summer on it, and I thought we did a real nice job. When we play Scarsdale, I thought they had to work really hard to kind of break
Yeah.
some of that press, and same thing with White Plains. North Rockland did it very easily, you
Yeah.
know? So I don't know. I don't know if it's something they were doing or something we were doing. I think it's something that we were not doing.
I
You
agree.
know, just
Yeah.
just, you know, our defensive shape and the way we approach the ball and things like that. I think it just wasn't what our guys were necessarily prioritizing or thinking.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm hoping it's an easy fix because, like you said, we had done a really good job over the summertime and in our first 4 games of just, you know, forcing a team in a particular area just to force them to play in a particular area. And today, for whatever reason, you know, we weren't able to do that. And I think it's you know, sometimes the pressure on the ball isn't just good enough to lock them one side, and then the other thing is, you know, just that second layer of defense, you know, and when that ball's passed, you just got to be there, and you got to be there to anticipate where it's going to go and just keep it, you know, in that same area and just try to squeeze a team and really make them play in a small, tight area. And we've been able to do it all season long. We weren't really able to get it done this morning, but I'm hoping that'll be a pretty easy fix in practice. I'm a little more concerned about on the offensive end, you know, us being able to do that and swinging the ball side to side and getting ourselves in a situation where we are playing a little bit more better possession soccer. And we've, like I said, we worked on that this week, right? And the completed passes we had today were 190, right? So we had 190 completed passes today and lost the game versus 145 in the White Plains game that we won. So we definitely completed more passes, completed about 50 more passes today, you know, than we did in that White Plains game. So that's definitely a plus for us. But I just feel like we have to do a better job of And I think you're right on target with it, changing the point of the attack, because if we're on one side and, the other team gets over there defensively, there's just not enough space for us to try to navigate through. So if we can get that ball over to the other side where there's more space, and even if we can't get down that side, you change it from one side to the other, and then you try to get down that opposite flank. If it's not available, step on it, come back, change through the central guys and go back then to the same side again, right? So go from one side to the other, like White Plains was, or I'm sorry, like North Rockland was doing to us, going from one side to the other, and you're eventually going to be able to get more successful opportunities down those flanks. I feel like today we got the ball to the flank, and then guys were just trying to fly down the flank. And I think it's great that we're trying to fly down the flank, but it can't just be get the ball on the right side and then go to the right side, as hard as you can, and see if we can get around the edge. If you can't get around the edge, just keep the ball, right? Keep that soccer ball, step on it, go backwards. You go through the middle of the field, see if we can find a different area to play in where there's more space. And it doesn't have to be so rushed. We can get it over to that other side and we can try to attack down that other side. But we talk to the players a lot about playing quickly versus playing rushed, and I just feel like when we get that ball on the flank, we're rushed to try to get it down the sidelines as opposed to just making a good decision and thinking, you know what, this side isn't available. Let me go through the middle. Let's go over to the other side, see what's available on that side. And if nothing's available there, that's okay. Let's keep possession. And we just haven't been good in all 5 games, in my opinion, at keeping possession in the final third of the field. And we had addressed this with our program years ago in our winter training where, whenever we play indoors, we force the guys, you've got to get the ball over midfield, and then you've got to, complete at least 5 consecutive passes before you can score in indoor soccer. And that was the reason for that, right? And still, 5 or so years later, I think we're still struggling with, keeping possession of the ball in that final third of the field and really working for a good opportunity, to get a good chance at scoring. And we've been struggling with it. So I think that the defensive end is going to be a little easier this week to work on in practice. That offensive end, I think, is something that we've struggled with for a while. And it's strange because we have skillful players, we have possession players, but for whatever reason, when we get in that final third of the field, we really struggle, to keep possession and to make good decisions. A lot of times we're just trying to force it, right to the goal. And especially when we go through the middle, we did that a lot in the first half today. North Rockland scored a goal on us by us forcing the ball down the middle of the field. They countered on us, and we were down 1-0. But, that's what we've got ahead of us. Like you said, we've got four days of practice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and, we'll work on the defensive end, but I think we'll spend a lot of time on, just trying to play quicker, trying to make good decisions on that ball, trying to keep possession in that final third of the field so that we can create quality scoring chances. The 190 passes, I mean, how many real quality scoring chances did we get today at North Rockland? Not many and not enough.
Yeah, not nearly enough, and that's what we were kind of talking at. I want to say it was halftime, right? We had generated a chance and Sean Vibrock didn't finish it and he was very frustrated. And our message is always to them, like, don't be frustrated that you didn't finish that. Like, we didn't generate enough chances, right? It can't be we get one chance and you have to bury it. Or, that's not the name of the game, right? It's if you create enough of them, you will convert, and we just didn't create enough chances. And it's frustrating because it's almost like the way that we play in our defensive third and the way that we play in attacking third with the ball should be inverted, because we will knock the ball around in the back even when we are under pressure and should clear the ball because it's dangerous to lose it. And then when we're in that attacking third, we play with like this panic and this haste and this rush. Like you talk about, like, you have to have composure. You have to play quickly, right? And a lot of times when we tell our guys composure, it becomes this lackadaisical, slow sludge. And no, but there's just not, there's not enough composure and speed to try and generate something. And like you said, recognize that, all right, this isn't here. Well, we can reset it. We can reset it in our final third through a different player that's not our center back.
Right.
So for me, it's a lot of just like we did in the winter for the last 5 years, whatever it's been, getting the ball over midfield, getting all 10 field players if we can over midfield and trying to keep it there so that when we knock it back to those trailing players to switch, at least we're over midfield and we can kind of look to kind of play in a little bit of a more attacking north space rather than when they turn it back, us being 30 yards shy of midfield and still having to build so much further. Like, we have these players who are good with the ball and talented with the ball. We got to try and maximize that through doing that. And right now it just hasn't happened through 5 games.
Yeah, and the other thing that's coming to my mind is, you know, we've had a lot of set pieces. We had some corners today. We had some long throw-ins today, and we haven't been as effective as I would have hoped, you know, on those as well. We've got some good guys in the air, right? Lucas Reverso, Uriel Bachue, Austin Seipp. I mean, these are big, strong guys that are good in the air. And, you know, for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to generate those quality scoring chances when the ball is thrown to those guys up high. So that'll be another focus, I think, of our training this week, is just trying to do a better job with those set pieces. You know, you had said you got to North Rockland early today, right? And as you were, you know, walking onto the field, they were going over their set pieces and their corner kicks. So, I mean, it's an important part of the game. And just to think about, I think today we had 6 corner kicks, if the stats,
Something like that.
You know?
It's and just like you were saying, if you get fouled 11 times, most of which in the attacking half, and then you get another 6 or 7 corner kicks, so you have 18 opportunities, you have to score a goal.
Yeah.
Right? You have to convert something there into a goal. And the fact that we haven't is, you know, an issue, on top of having throw-ins down in the final third and things like that.
That's a great point.
You're absolutely right. We have to, you know, convert those. Those are scoring chances the same way that Sean Biebrek had a chance, you know, and we didn't convert on any of those. And those are like well-defined chances where we can get as many players as we want forward, as many players as we want in this place. You get a free, you know, kick with no pressure or anything like that. We have guys who serve beautiful balls, and we've got to get better and more consistent and really treat those as the opportunity to score a goal that they are.
Yeah, so true. And you know, you had brought up another stat, I think, that is definitely troubling to me as well. Is we 5 games in here, we still have not earned an offensive penalty kick. So that's now 2.5 seasons, I think, right? You had said
it's been like 40 games or something. You figure 16 regular season games in 2 seasons, plus our sectional games, plus 5 games this year. We haven't earned a penalty in 40 something games. That's crazy.
Yeah,
You know, that's a problem. And it just comes from us not working productively in that final third to get possession in the box and to kind of force a defender into making a decision that, you know, a risky decision that may result in getting fouled. You know, we're not putting enough pressure on defenders through our possession in the box to earn that. And that's a problem, because we have guys who can do it and are good with the ball, but we're just not.
yeah, it's so true. I remember that there was a play today. I think it was in the first half. Justin Ortiz, one of our best guys on the ball, and he got the ball and got into the box, and then sort of got double teamed, and he sort of, you know, rightfully so, you know, dribbled away from that double team, but he sort of backed out of the box, you know, and then passed it. And I think I had said to him at halftime, you know, like, try to take guys on there, but you got to do it quicker before you get double teamed there. You got to try to get by a guy, and like you say, put a defender in a real difficult position to say, man, this guy's by me. He's headed towards my net. You know, he's 10, 15 yards away from my goal. Am I going to let him just continue to do that? Or am I going to take him down? We just, you know, 40 some odd games here have not been able to do that. So I don't know. Definitely, again, to your point, you know, we haven't been good enough with possession in that final third of the field. We haven't been, you know, patient enough trying to create really good quality scoring chances. And we're just sort of rushing through that final third of the field and just not being dangerous enough. And we've got the players to do it. So it is mind-boggling that we're not able to generate, you know, those fouls in the box, but we haven't. And it's not a referee thing. It's not like, you know, we've been tripped 85 times and they haven't called it. We haven't been fouled at all in our box.
No. And in fact, just to speak on the refereeing, we were mentioning when we were walking off the field today, our first 5 games this year have been officiated so incredibly well. I can't think of a 5-game stretch where we just had fantastic, fantastic officiating. Whether we're home, away, whether we're in Rockland or Westchester or Dutchess, it's been nice to see. I know that a lot of people are critical of the referees, and we certainly have been ourselves, but they've done such a fantastic job, and did so again today. We had a 3-man unit down in North Rockland, and they called a great game. So yeah, it's certainly not the officiating that's been the problem. It's very much a we problem that we need to figure out and address.
Yeah, you bring up a great point with the referees. All 5 games, I can't ever remember being upset with anything that any of the referees have done, and today especially. I said to all 3 of them, well, only 2 of them, but the third one I sort of gave a thumbs up as he was walking off the field because he was on that far side. But yeah, to get a 3-man system today in Rockland County was fantastic. And those 3 guys, we told them, what a game. I mean, what a fantastically, and we told the kids at halftime too, like, I mean, these referees are calling a really good game. It was really impressive and nice to see. I know that that's not a popular opinion with parents and with other coaches, and I know that there's been plenty of complaints, but I had said to the referee, the guy in the middle right before the game, he said to me something like, before the national anthem, like, hey, if you need anything, or if you have any questions, let me know. And I sort of laughed at him and I said, we don't have any questions. You're the referee. You referee. Our kids will play. We're not gonna, we're not gonna have any issues. And he laughed, but we didn't have any issues. I mean, it was a really, really, really well refereed game. And you're right. All 5 of our games have been fantastic. I mean, the referees have really been awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see. Maybe it's not the case for everyone, but we've been very fortunate thus far, and I anticipate the same going forward. And
Yeah.
and a piece of that also is credit to our players, right? Our guys have really, really taken to our directive of not diving in, of not fouling, of us, not tolerating it. So our guys, I don't think we've had more than 4 or 5,000 any game, which, is a lot. Even I want to say we had like maybe 2 or 3 in a couple of the games, so when you're not diving in and you're not leaving it up to the discretion of the officials, there seems to be less to complain about from a player's perspective, right? Like, well, that's not a foul. That is a foul. Like, if you just don't do anything that can be interpreted that way, it's not an issue, So I think also a piece of that is kudos to our guys for, taking it to heart the way that we've kind of hoped that they would.
Really well said, Coach. We've harped on that for years, but we've said it multiple times with this group. They are willing to listen. They are willing to be coached. And I would love to know the stats of fouls that we've committed in our first 5 games over, previous seasons. And you're right. We are not committing fouls. We're not diving in. We are just playing soccer. And, we're obviously not getting those fouls in the box that we talked about that we're looking for. But that's on us. That's on, our creativity in that final third of the field. But you are right. I mean, our kids have been really good about not diving in and not being dirty. Really, a lot of the fouls that we've committed have just been, we're just competing for the ball and we just got, a little bit too handsy, or our feet got caught up with guys. And we've committed those fouls, but our kids have been really good. They have been really good about just playing the game of soccer and just, not involving the referees and a lot of that stuff. So maybe part of it is, the referees being so good, but part of it is, our kids, just playing soccer, and just allowing the referees to have a break. They don't have to blow the whistle every 30 seconds, with kids flying into each other.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in years past there being games when we would play Ketchum or Arlington where it'd be like 18 fouls to 16 fouls, and it's just like there's no flow to the game at all because the whistle's blown over 30 times. Like, you can't even get any sort of rhythm. If we've committed 16 fouls in 5 games, I mean, I probably a little bit more than that, but not much. And I think I would feel very confident. I don't have it in front of me, but we have committed fewer fouls than our opponent in all 5 of our games by a pretty significant margin.
No doubt.
A lot of them were like 11-5 or 16-4, like, which is, and that's something that we've emphasized. So, and our guys have taken to the task. So now that we kind of shift our emphasis or kind of refocus somewhere else on getting possession in the box, on switching the point of attack, on maintaining possession of the ball in the attacking half of the field, I'm sure our guys will be up for it and eager to, to see that they can show us that they can do it. And the guys who do it the best will be the guys who, continue to see the field.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, let's go back to our scrimmage at Fox Lane, right? We had 1 scrimmage this year. And I don't know if you remember this, but we had sort of challenged the players right before the game. We're just talking to them. We said, hey, no fouls the entire game. We don't want a whistle blown against us once. And I think we went the first 30 minutes, no fouls, right? And then we got into about 20 minutes in that second 30-minute period before we had finally committed a foul. And I think we talked about this before on the
Yeah.
podcast. Everybody was like, when we finally committed one. But to go 50 some odd minutes in a high school soccer game and not to commit a single foul is impressive. And it's not that our guys are backing away from stuff. Our guys are playing good, hard, competitive soccer. They're doing a good job by not fouling. And again, like you say, a credit really goes to them for just listening and being coachable and doing what we ask. And it's been good from their end, from the referees end, and from our opponents' end too. I mean, I haven't seen anybody play any dirty soccer. Nobody's really been. Yeah, it's been a really clean 5-game season for us so far.
Yeah, it's been 5 really good games, and
Yeah.
even when we haven't played, our best, it's been good soccer and very competitive. I think Class AAA is just anybody's, for the taking this year. There's probably 6, 7, maybe more teams that could come away with it. Whoever's playing the best ball come October, we're committed to trying to make sure that it's us. But it's just very competitive and probably the most open and competitive that I can remember it being in a long time, which is great because
I would agree.
what it does is it leads to really good competitive soccer games, and that's what we've had. We
Yeah.
have really good competitive games that could go either way, and it makes me excited for, the sectional tournament when it comes around. I know it's a ways away, but it'll be here before we know it. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see kind of which teams improve between now and the middle of October. And, I know that we will. I know that this will be, the same way we've addressed other things, we'll be able to address these issues and we'll be playing good ball when we need to.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Scarsdale, White Plains, North Rockland, really good teams. I mean, teams that are just as good as we are,
Yeah.
so I think all of those teams are really on an even level there. And Arlington's always good, and word on the street is New Rochelle's fantastic this year, so we get to see them at the end of the season. So yeah, I agree with you. AAA is really wide open. There's no major favorite, and it's fun to be a part of. And like you say, just some really good games. And we lost today. And I think you and I were like so happy at the end of the game, right? And we had even said to the other team, like, what a really well played soccer game. I had said to Coach Dwyer at the end of the game, man, I mean, that was just a really, really good soccer game. I enjoyed watching it. And he said to me, it always is with you guys. It always is. But we had a really good game with them last year in the sectional tournament, right? They knocked us out 3-2 in overtime. But yeah, we've had some really good games, and I would expect nothing less from Arlington, who's good year in and year out. New Rochelle going forward. Ketchum's always got a really good team. So yeah, AAA is wide open for anybody.
Yeah, whoever wins is going to have to beat 3 good teams in a row. Presumably, they'll have to run through a gamut of some really tough opponents, and they'll be deserving, I'm sure, because if you can beat 3 of any of those 6 teams back to back to back, and I'm sure there's other teams that are just not coming to mind, you're going to deserve that sectional
Yeah.
title. And I just hope it's us, man.
Yeah.
I hope it's us.
Yeah, well, so looking forward to the week ahead, right? We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of practices, and then Friday we're home against Arlington at 5 o'clock, and Saturday we're home against Ketchum at 6 o'clock. That's our Caswell Memorial game, and we hope that we've got to try to get some guys from that 2000 team that played with James to get out there and to help us with that Caswell Scholarship Memorial Fund. James's dad, Steve, does such a good job. If you guys ever watch us on local live, any home games, Mr. Caswell, James's father, is announcing those games. He's done that for years for us, right? He is just, I view him as an assistant coach. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but he's definitely a
Yeah.
part of the staff, and he's always talking to us about stats and about what he sees, from the booth. He just gives us, some very valuable insights, and it's always a difficult day, for us to remember James and wish that he was here with us. But awesome, to celebrate the kind of player that he was and what he meant to John Jay Soccer, and what how he felt about John Jay Soccer, and just loved John Jay Soccer and his dad too. 21 years after his son passing, or 20 years, I guess, after his son passing, is still in the booth and on the microphone and announcing our games. And every year, we award a graduating senior who reminds us the most of James, a $1,000 scholarship. So awesome to keep James's memory alive, but want to try to do a better job. I know Steve Cabello, who played with James, his daughter now goes to John Jay. His wife works at John Jay. Joey Johnson, who played with James, his daughter is on the JV girls soccer team at John Jay. So, we sort of come full circle here. We got to try to get
Yeah.
these guys back for that game. And if nothing else, being in the stands and supporting the players that we currently have and supporting that, memorial scholarship that we award every year.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great event. It always is. It's good that we get to play against Ketchum. I think it'll be a nice game. They were gracious enough to move the date of our match to make this work for the event, which is
So
just
true.
really, really great.
So true.
And yeah, like you said, it's important for us to be able to keep this going. And when I came on and joined the coaching staff, I thought it was probably my favorite thing right away to be able to participate in and be a part of, and kind of the bigger we can make it, and both the event itself for the match and the scholarship, the more we can kind of keep his memory going and, keep his name out there in everybody's minds and keep Steve a part of the program, the better. It's just a wonderful, wonderful family and a wonderful guy. And, there's really not much else to say beyond that, but I'm always looking forward to that game, and I very much am again this Saturday.
Yeah, you bring up a great point with Ketchum. Let's publicly thank Ketchum because when our schedule came out, we had very few Friday and Saturday games for whatever reason. And the game coming up this Saturday was not scheduled. And we had reached out to, I think, 4 or 5 teams to ask them to move their game, to a weekend, to a Saturday, so that we could have this Memorial game. And all 4 or 5 of them said no, and Ketchum was the only one that I forget exactly what we did. I don't know if we flip-flopped home games or whatever, but they immediately were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So really appreciate that. And their coach, coaches with Coach Axe, right, in travel soccer, so it'll be nice to get, some youth teams out for that game as well. Coach Axe has been great, getting us ball boys and getting, guys out for that event. So really looking forward to it on Saturday. It's always good. Ketchum's principal is my brother, right? So, it's just got a real nice local feel to it. So it should be a nice night. And the weather's been freaking unbelievable, right? I mean, this whole season, man, oh man, it's, I know I'm jinxing myself here, and we're going to be hit with a thunderstorm, Friday and Saturday in our games against Arlington and Ketchum, but the weather has just been awesome.
Since the first day of tryouts, how many times have we had at tryouts, had to come off the field because it was 95 degrees or we get poured on. It has been the most gorgeous fall that I can think of in terms of late August and early September. And I mean, maybe it means, October will be rough or we'll have a rough winter. I don't care. I'm just so thankful that the last, 5-6 weeks have been just perfect, perfect weather outside.
Awesome. So this is podcast number 17. You want to do it again next week, Coach? Go for 18?
Yeah, why not? We might as well keep going. I figure, we don't want to let the people down. All right. So
Love
with that,
doing it. Love talking high
we'll
school
wrap.
soccer.
Yeah, me too. And I'm having a great time. So why not? We'll keep going. That'll wrap up episode 17. Hopefully we'll see everyone next week and be able to talk about how we did against Arlington, and then how the Caswell Memorial game went with Ketchum, and anything that happens between now and then, the 4 practice sessions we have going on. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great week, everybody.